Some losses are blessings in disguise. Some doors close so you never walk through them again. My friends, let's talk about something real. You've been giving your time, your energy, your love, without making people work for it. And guess what? They got used to it. They got comfortable. They started thinking your presence was a guarantee. But here's the truth. Nobody values what they think they can always have. And right now, someone out there thinks they can treat you however they want and still have access to you. They assume that no matter how little effort they put in, no matter how many times they disappear, you'll still be there. They've convinced themselves that your kindness is infinite, that your patience has no limit, that you will never be the one to leave. But today, that illusion ends, because today you're about to do something they never saw coming. You're about to make them feel the cost of losing you. And trust me, it's going to hit them harder than they ever expected. Before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's going to change everything. Now, picture this. Imagine you're at a magic show. The magician keeps performing the same trick, night after night, year after year. At first, the crowd is amazed. They clap, they cheer, they can't get enough. But over time, the trick loses its magic. People start checking their phones. They stop paying attention because they think they know how it works. Then one night, the magician does something different. He steps on stage, looks at the crowd, and walks off. No performance, no explanations, just silence. Now everyone is paying attention. Now they're wondering, wait, what just happened? Where did he go? When is he coming back? That's exactly what happens when you remove your presence from someone's life. They don't notice when you're always there. They notice when you disappear. And that's your power, not words, not arguments, absence. They expected you to chase. They expected you to keep trying. They thought you would always be the one fighting for the connection. And when you don't, it messes with their head, because suddenly you are no longer predictable. And trust me, nothing haunts people more than losing something they thought they'd always have. But listen, my friends, this isn't about playing games. This isn't about making them jealous or trying to get revenge. This is about you reclaiming your worth and making sure that from now on, nobody ever takes you for granted again. Because if they couldn't see your value when you were there, they sure as hell don't deserve another chance to realize it when you're gone. So say it with me. I will never be taken for granted again. Write it in the comments. Own it. Feel it. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Number 1. The harsh reality. Why they took you for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more they think they own your presence, the less they respect it. That's the truth, my friends, and it's a hard pill to swallow. But let's not sugarcoat things. Right now, someone out there has gotten way too comfortable with you. They assume you'll always be around. They assume no matter how they treat you, no matter how little they give, you'll still be there, waiting, understanding, forgiving. They don't fear losing you because you never gave them a reason to. And that's where you messed up. Not because you were too kind, not because you were too patient, but because you trained them to believe your presence was permanent. You showed up every time they called. You forgave every time they slipped. You poured yourself into them with no hesitation, no boundaries, no conditions. And now they don't appreciate it because they've come to expect it. Imagine a golden statue in the middle of a park, At first, people admire it. They stop, they stare, they take pictures, they appreciate its beauty. But after a while, it becomes part of the background. They walk past it every day, barely noticing it. It's just there. Nothing special, nothing rare, just another object taking up space. But the day that statue is gone, suddenly everyone notices. Suddenly people ask, "Wait, what happened? Where did it go? It was always here." Now they miss it. Now they wish they had appreciated it more. That's you. They won't feel your loss while you're still there. They'll feel it when your energy is gone. But let's be honest, right now you might be afraid. Afraid that if you step back, if you walk away, they won't care, that they'll move on without a second thought, that your absence won't make a difference. That fear, that's exactly what's keeping you stuck. Because let me tell you something, if silence makes someone forget you, they never really valued you to begin with. If your absence doesn't shake them, your presence never meant anything to them. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. And it's the truth that's been hiding under every second chance you've given, under every excuse you've made for them, under every time you convinced yourself, maybe if I just try harder, they'll finally appreciate me. But tell me, has trying harder ever worked? Has being more patient, more understanding, more available ever made them respect you more? Or has it just made them lazier? Has it just convinced them that no matter what they do, you'll always be there, waiting? People don't respect what they don't have to earn. They don't cherish what's freely given. They don't fear losing what they believe will always be available. And right now, they don't fear losing you, because you haven't given them a reason to. You've been too predictable, too accessible, too forgiving, and that's why they don't appreciate you, because they believe they own your presence, because they think you'll always come back, because they assume no matter how far they push, you'll still be standing in the same place, waiting for them to realize your worth. But listen to me, your worth is not something people should have to realize. Your worth should be undeniable, and if someone doesn't see it now, if they don't respect it now, if they don't cherish it while they still have it, that's not your fault, that's not your failure, that's their loss. But here's the part where it gets difficult, because walking away isn't easy, because the fear is real, because deep down, you don't just want them to miss you, you want them to change. You want them to wake up. You want them to finally understand what they had before it's too late. But that's not your job. Your job is not to make them see your worth. Your job is not to teach them how to treat you. Your job is to remove yourself when you're not valued and let the loss teach them what your presence never could. Because let me tell you something, nothing haunts a person more than regret. One day, they'll look for you. One day, they'll scroll through their phone, wondering if they should text you. One day, they'll sit in a room full of people and feel alone because nobody there understands them like you did. One day, they'll hear your name, see something that reminds them of you, and they'll feel it, the absence, the emptiness, the cost of losing you. But by then, you won't care. Because by then, you'll have risen, you'll have moved on, you'll have become someone so untouchable, so strong, so high value, that even if they do come back, even if they do finally realize what they lost, they won't have a chance in hell of getting you back. That's the power of walking away. That's the power of refusing to be taken for granted. That's the power of making them feel your absence instead of explaining your worth. So tell me, are you ready? Are you finally done being treated like an option? Are you done proving yourself to people who never deserved you in the first place? Are you ready to step into the kind of self-worth that makes the people who took you for granted wish they had treated you differently? Then say it with me. They will feel my loss. Write it in the comments. Show yourself. Show them. Show the world around you. Because what's coming next, it's going to make sure they never, never forget what they lost. So folks, you've been giving too much for too little. You've been explaining yourself, justifying your worth, proving your value over and over again to people who never truly appreciated it. But that ends today. Because what I'm about to tell you, it's going to shift the entire dynamic of how people treat you. No more begging for respect. No more waiting for someone to see your worth. From this moment forward, you're going to move differently. You're going to reclaim your power in a way they never saw coming. 6 steps, 6 power moves that will change your relationships forever. Stay with me, because once you do this, they will feel it. Step 1. Silence is the darkest move you can make. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. That's something most people don't understand. They think power is in words, in arguments, in explanations. They think if they just say the right thing, make the right point, pour out enough emotion, the other person will finally get it. But let me tell you something, my friends. People don't hear words. They feel absence. You've been talking too much, explaining too much, begging, pleading, trying to make them understand what they did to you, why you're hurt, why you deserve better. And what has it gotten you? Ignored, dismissed, overlooked. Because the more you talk, the more they tune you out. The more you explain, the less they care. But the moment you go silent, the moment you stop reaching out, stop reacting, stop playing into their cycle, that's when they start to notice. Imagine a radio that never stops playing. It's on 24/7, blaring non-stop. At first, people listen. They might even like the music. But over time, it becomes background noise. They stop paying attention. They assume it will always be there. But what happens when it suddenly cuts off? When the static disappears and there's nothing but dead silence? Now they notice. Now they feel the difference. Now they wonder what happened. That's what your silence does. Right now, they expect you to react. They expect you to get emotional, to send one more text, to make one more effort. They've conditioned you to believe that if you just communicate better, if you just try harder, if you just explain one last time, things will change. But it won't, because people don't learn through conversations. They learn through consequences. And your silence, that's the consequence. But here's where most people hesitate. The fear creeps in. What if I go silent and they don't care? What if they move on? What if I never hear from them again? And that, right there, is the truth you've been running from. If your silence doesn't shake them, nothing ever will. If your absence doesn't make them feel something, your presence never meant much to them in the first place. Let that sink in. Because right now, you're sitting here thinking one more conversation is going to fix everything. But tell me, has talking ever made them change? No. Because words don't teach people lessons. Loss does. And that's why you stop explaining. That's why you stop proving. That's why you remove yourself completely, without warnings, without final speeches, without a dramatic exit. Just gone. It's psychological. When people are sure of you, they don't value you. When they think they can come and go as they please, they don't fear losing you. But the moment they reach for you and find nothing, the moment they realize they have no access to your energy, that's when the panic sets in. That's when the questions start. Why aren't they reaching out? Are they mad at me? Did they move on? Wait, were they actually serious this time? And that's when they feel it. But here's the catch: you can't break. The second you respond to a breadcrumb, the second you give in to a weak attempt, you lose everything, because now they know. They know you were never really gone. They know all they had to do was throw out a half-hearted, "I miss you," and you'd come running. They know you wanted them to notice, and that means they still have power. And the cycle starts all over again. But if you stay silent, if you make them sit in the void they created, that's when the regret starts creeping in. That's when they start realizing they took something valuable for granted. That's when they start wondering if they made a mistake. Because let me tell you something, nothing haunts people more than not knowing. Not knowing if they could reach you if they tried. Not knowing if you've moved on. Not knowing if they lost you for good. And when someone has to sit with uncertainty, they obsess over it. That's why silence is the darkest move you can make, because it leaves them alone with their own thoughts. It forces them to replay every moment, every decision, every way they took you for granted. And the worst part? There's nothing they can do about it. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulating them into chasing you. This is about you finally stepping into your power. Because here's the truth. If someone only realizes your worth after you go silent, that means they never truly valued you. They just valued the access they had to you. And if they try to come back, if they finally notice what they lost, the only response they should ever get from you: nothing. So tell me, my friends, are you finally done explaining? Are you finally done trying to make them understand? Are you finally ready to show them what life without you really feels like? Then say it with me. My silence is my power. Write it in the comments. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never forget what they lost. Step 2. Become the person they can't reach. The moment they think they've figured you out, you've already outgrown them. That's the secret, my friends. The reason they don't appreciate you is because they believe they know you. They think they've got you mapped out, down to every last reaction, every last thought, every last move. They assume that no matter what they do, no matter how long they disappear, you'll still be there, waiting, hoping, checking your phone, dropping little hints that you still care. But what happens when you don't do what they expect? What happens when they look for you and find nothing? What happens when the person they once had access to is no longer reachable? I'll tell you what happens. They start losing their minds. Because people don't obsess over what they have. They obsess over what they can't have. They don't chase certainty. They chase mystery. And the second you become unpredictable, the second you remove their ability to read you, their entire sense of control starts crumbling. Right now, they think they know how this story ends. They think they can walk away, entertain other options, neglect you, take you for granted, and still come back whenever they feel like it. They assume you'll be there, just like always, just like before, like nothing ever happened. But you're about to do something they never expected. You're about to disappear, not in a way that screams for attention, not in a way that begs them to notice, not in a way that makes them sure you're watching, waiting for them to come back. No, you move in silence. No sad posts. No, I'm working on myself updates. No cryptic messages hoping they'll read between the lines. You just vanish. And that's when the real panic sets in. Because suddenly, they don't know. They don't know if you're thinking about them. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if they even have a chance anymore. It's like a book with missing pages. They thought they knew the ending, but suddenly, half the story is missing, and they're left wondering, what happened? Where did they go? Who are they with? Are they happier without me? And let me tell you something. Uncertainty is a cruel, cruel thing. It messes with the mind. It haunts people in a way that no words ever could. It keeps them up at night, staring at their phone, wondering if they should reach out. It makes them check your social media, hoping for a sign that you're still there. It forces them to question everything they thought they knew about you. And the more you stay silent, the more they start replaying everything in their mind. Did they push you too far? Did they miscalculate? Were you actually serious this time? Because here's the truth, my friends. People only realize what they had when they no longer have access to it. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about making them suffer. This isn't about playing some mind game to get them to chase you. This is about finally putting yourself in a position where you never have to prove your worth again. Because you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to make someone realize how valuable you are. Your absence will teach them what your words never could. But this is where most people break. Because the silence gets uncomfortable. The ego starts whispering, "What if they don't care?" The fear creeps in. "What if I really lose them forever?" The doubt grows. "What if I made the wrong choice?" And that's where you have to be stronger. Because let me tell you something. If your absence doesn't shake them, your presence never meant anything to them in the first place. And you don't need to be where you're not valued. You don't need to keep giving chances to someone who only wants you when they think you're slipping away. Because if they truly cared, they wouldn't have taken the risk of losing you to begin with. So you move, you elevate, you work on yourself, not for them, not to make them jealous, not to get their attention, but because you owe it to yourself to become someone they will never have the privilege of knowing again. And by the time they realize what they lost, by the time they finally wake up, by the time they send that weak, half-hearted, "Hey, how have you been?" message just to see if you're still within reach, they won't even recognize the person you've become. And that's when they really feel it. So tell me, my friends, are you ready to stop being predictable? Are you ready to stop being someone's backup plan? Are you ready to finally make them feel what it's like to not have you in their life? Then say it with me. I am the mystery they will never solve. Write it in the comments. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Because what's coming next, it's going to make sure they never see you the same way again. Step 3. Level up without announcing it. The best revenge is not anger, it's not payback. It's becoming so untouchable that they don't even recognize the person they once took for granted. That's the truth, my friends. You don't win by arguing. You don't win by proving your worth to someone who didn't see it when they had you. You don't win by trying to make them regret their choices. You win by leveling up so hard that by the time they even think about coming back, you're so far ahead, they can't even reach you. Right now, they think they know you. They think they've got you figured out. They assume you'll always be the same, always stuck in the same place, always waiting, always hoping. But what happens when you disappear and then return as an unstoppable force? I'll tell you what happens. They panic. Because nothing shakes people more than realizing they lost someone rare. Nothing messes with their mind more than knowing they had something valuable in their hands and let it slip through their fingers like it was nothing. Imagine you're watching a movie. The main character gets betrayed, abandoned, replaced. You expect them to cry, to fall apart, to beg for another chance. But instead, they vanish. They go completely off the grid. And when they return, they're unrecognizable, stronger, smarter, more powerful than ever. And the ones who betrayed them? They're the ones shaking now. That's you. That's the energy you need to step into. But here's where most people get stuck. Because leveling up isn't just about looking better. It's not just about making them jealous. It's about becoming someone they never should have taken for granted in the first place. And that takes work. You have to change your mindset. You have to stop living for their approval. You have to stop thinking about whether or not they'll notice and start focusing on making sure you never tolerate that kind of disrespect again. You have to upgrade your appearance, not for them, but for you. Not to make them regret it, but because you deserve to look in the mirror and love what you see. Because confidence isn't about revenge, it's about self-respect. You have to focus on your goals. You have to chase every dream you put on hold for someone who didn't even see your worth. You have to build something so strong, so powerful, that by the time they realize what they lost, you don't even care anymore. And here's where the real shift happens. At first, they don't notice. They assume you're still the same. They assume they still have time. They assume if they reach out, you'll still be waiting. But over time, they start seeing things they didn't expect. Your energy changes. Your focus shifts. You stop looking like someone who got left behind and start looking like someone they could never have in the first place. And that's when the regret kicks in, because they expected you to stay in the past. They expected you to wait. They expected you to still be there, still hoping, still proving, still available. But now you're a version of yourself they no longer have access to. Now they see the glow-up. Now they see the change. Now they see the strength in your eyes, the confidence in your walk, the peace in your presence. And the worst part for them, they don't even know how it happened. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if someone else has stepped in. They don't know if they ever had a real chance with you in the first place. And that unknown, it eats them alive. But by then, you're so far ahead, so far removed from their world, that their regret doesn't even matter anymore. Because you're no longer that same person. Because now you know what you bring to the table. Because now you're not just getting over them, you've outgrown them. And that, my friends, that's how you win. Not by looking back, not by waiting for them to notice, not by hoping they regret it, but by becoming someone they never should have let go in the first place. So tell me, are you ready? Are you ready to stop proving, stop waiting, stop hoping for them to see your worth? Are you ready to level up so hard that by the time they realize what they lost, you don't even recognize the person who once cared so much? Then say it with me. I am becoming untouchable. Write it in the comments. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure they never get another chance at you again. Step 4. Never let them think they can come back. If they had to lose you to see your value, they never really valued you to begin with. Read that again. Let it sink in. Because right now, someone out there is going to come back. They always do. Not because they've changed. Not because they've suddenly realized your worth. Not because they finally understand what they lost. No, they're coming back because they lost control. Because their ego took a hit. Because they thought you'd always be available, and now you're not. And you're about to make the biggest mistake of your life if you let them back in. Because the second you do, you prove to them that losing you was never a real consequence. Imagine this. You quit a job where they underpaid you, overworked you, and never appreciated you. You finally move on, find something better, start thriving, and suddenly The old job calls. We miss you. Things will be different now. We realize what we had. But guess what? They don't miss you. They miss the way you broke yourself for them. They miss the way you put up with things no one else would. They miss the way they could take from you without giving anything in return. And the second you say yes, they relax again. Because now they know. They know they can treat you like an option. They know they can disappear whenever they want. They know they can neglect you, disrespect you, and walk away without losing anything, because you'll always take them back. And let me tell you something, that is the fastest way to destroy your own worth. Because when you take them back, you're not just letting them back into your life, you're telling yourself that you were never worth more, that all the hurt, all the disrespect, all the bare minimum they gave you before was acceptable. And trust me, they will repeat the cycle. They will do it again. They will leave again. They will take you for granted again. Because why wouldn't they? You just showed them that they can. But you're smarter now. You're no longer the person who settles. You're no longer the person who waits around for someone to finally see your value. You're no longer the person who believes words over actions. Because if they truly saw your worth, they wouldn't have had to lose you to realize it. Because if they truly loved you, they never would have risked losing you in the first place. Because if they truly changed, you wouldn't have to be convinced. They would prove it. And let's be real. If you have to wonder whether or not someone is serious about you, they're not. People don't fumble things they value. People don't risk losing what they know is rare. People don't take chances with the ones they love. So let me ask you, are you still waiting for them to convince you? Are you still hoping that maybe this time will be different? Are you still entertaining the idea that they finally understand what they lost? Or are you finally ready to close the damn door forever? Because here's the truth. If you let them back in, you erase everything you just worked for. You erase the growth. You erase the strength. You erase the lesson. And for what? For someone who only realized they wanted you after you stopped wanting them? Absolutely not. You are done explaining your worth. You are done proving your value. You are done allowing people to think they can come and go as they please. This time, when they come back, they find the door locked. And trust me, nothing will haunt them more than realizing they can never get back what they so carelessly lost. So say it with me. I do not go back. I do not entertain disrespect. I do not repeat lessons. Write it in the comments. Say it. Own it. Live it. Because what's coming next? It's going to make sure you never let anyone think they can walk away from you without consequences again. Step 5. Make them watch you win. The only real revenge is success they can't be part of. Right now, they think they still have a hold on you. They assume you're somewhere feeling sad, overthinking, waiting for them to come back. But what happens when you prove them wrong? What happens when they look at you and realize you're better off without them? I'll tell you what happens. It destroys them, because nothing haunts people more than seeing you thrive in a life they thought you couldn't have without them. Seeing you glowing, leveling up, surrounded by new energy, while they're stuck exactly where you left them. But here's the catch. You don't announce it. You don't try to prove anything. You don't post quotes about self-love or moving on just to get their attention. No, you just silently become everything they thought you couldn't be. You focus on yourself. You upgrade your mindset, your appearance, your lifestyle. You work on your goals with relentless discipline. You become so untouchable that even if they try to reach out, they realize they no longer have a place in your world. And trust me, when they see it, When they see that you didn't just survive without them, you thrived, it will break them, because people expect you to fold. They expect you to sit around, missing them, waiting for their return. They don't expect you to rise into the most unstoppable version of yourself. And when they finally wake up and realize what they lost, they'll know they can never have it back. So say it with me: I don't chase, I don't wait, I elevate. Write it in the comments, own it, show them, show yourself. Because what's coming next, it's going to make sure they never recover from losing you. Step 6. Replace them without a second thought. Nothing stings more than being easily replaced. You want to know what really messes with someone's mind? When they think they were irreplaceable, only to find out they were nothing but a temporary chapter in your story. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Because right now, they think you're waiting for them. They assume that even if they disappeared, even if they neglected you, even if they treated you like an option, you still see them as special. But the moment they see you move on like they never existed, it destroys them. Not because they actually loved you, not because they actually care about your happiness, but because their ego can't handle the fact that they were replaceable. And let's be real, if someone only starts wanting you after they see you with someone else, that's not love. That's territorial insecurity. That's jealousy. That's ego. And you don't entertain ego. You don't wait for them to figure things out. You don't sit around hoping they'll come back changed. You move forward. You find someone who actually values you without needing to lose you first. And by the time they crawl back, hoping for another chance, you look at them the same way you look at an old job that paid you minimum wage, like something you've outgrown. So say it with me: I replace what does not value me. Write it in the comments, own it, live it, because what's coming next, it's going to make sure they never forget the moment they realized you were the best thing they ever lost. The final blow: let them drown in their own regret. There is no greater pain than realizing you let something irreplaceable slip through your fingers. That's the truth, my friends. That's what keeps people awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the past, wondering how they were so blind, wondering why they didn't see what they had while they still had it, wondering how they convinced themselves they could find another you. And let me tell you something, they will try. They will search for you in others. They will chase after people who remind them of you. They will think, maybe I can find someone with their kindness, their patience, their loyalty, but without the consequences of losing them. But they won't, because you were one of one. And the second they realize that, the second it truly hits them, the regret will be unbearable. But by then, it's too late, because by the time they look back, the door is locked. And that's when they truly feel it. Not when you walked away, not when they ignored your silence, not when they thought they could replace you. They feel it when they finally understand and realize they can never fix it. Imagine this. You're at a train station. The train is about to leave. You have your ticket, your bags are packed, but you hesitate, you get distracted. You think, hey, I'll catch the next one. And then the doors close. You watch as the train pulls away, as it vanishes into the distance. And suddenly you realize there is no next one. That was it. Your one chance, gone. That's exactly how they feel when they finally wake up and realize you were the best thing they ever had, and they let you go. But here's where it gets even worse for them. At first, they'll convince themselves it's fine. They'll go out, distract themselves, act like nothing happened. They'll tell themselves, I'll find someone better. And maybe for a little while they'll believe it. Maybe they'll even convince themselves they made the right choice. But then it happens. They meet someone new. At first, everything seems fine, maybe even exciting. Maybe they even post about it, trying to convince the world and themselves that they've moved on. But then the cracks start to show. The new person doesn't understand them like you did. The new person doesn't make them feel safe the way you did. The new person doesn't see them the way you did. And suddenly, they realize. They start remembering the little things, the way you used to say their name, the way you laughed at their dumb jokes, the way you could just tell when something was wrong, even when they tried to hide it, the way you made them feel like home. And no matter how hard they try, they can't find that again, because what they had with you wasn't normal, it wasn't replaceable, it wasn't something they could just go out and find again, like picking up a new pair of shoes. It was rare, and now it's gone. But let's talk about why they didn't see it before, because this is the part where most people get stuck. This is the part where you start asking yourself, if I was so valuable, why didn't they see it while they had me? And the answer is simple. They thought you'd always be there. They thought you were permanent. They thought no matter what they did, no matter how much effort they didn't put in, no matter how much they took you for granted, you would always be there, waiting. Because that's what you trained them to believe. Every time you forgave without consequences. Every time you lowered your standards just to keep them around. Every time you proved your love while they barely lifted a finger. You taught them that your presence was a guarantee. And when people believe something is guaranteed, they don't respect it. Look at water. We waste it every day because we assume there's more. Look at electricity. We leave the lights on because we assume it'll always be there. Look at your presence in their life. They wasted it because they assumed you weren't going anywhere. And now they know better. Because nothing haunts a person more than realizing they destroyed something that could have been forever. But here's where the real pain comes in for them. It's not just that they lost you. It's not just that they can't find another you. It's the fact that someone else will. And that will break them. Because nothing burns more than watching someone else experience the version of you they could have had. Watching someone else get the love, the loyalty, the presence, the energy that they took for granted. Watching someone else walk through the door they thought they could always come back to, only to find it locked forever. And at that moment, they will understand something they never did before. They didn't just lose a person, they lost a future. They lost every version of you they would have gotten to meet. They lost the experiences they could have had with you. They lost the one person who actually gave a damn about them. And when they reach out, because they will, when they send that weak, desperate, "Hey, how have you been?" message, thinking they can slide back into your life like nothing happened, they'll get nothing. Not because you're bitter, not because you're trying to punish them, but because you've outgrown them. Because you've built a life so full, so rich, so powerful, that their absence doesn't even matter anymore. And that will haunt them forever. So tell me, my friends, are you still waiting for them to realize your worth? Or are you ready to make sure they never get the chance to take you for granted again? Then say it with me. I am the loss they will never recover from. Write it in the comments. Own it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. So folks, this isn't about revenge. This isn't about making them miss you. This is about you, stepping into your power, realizing your worth, and never lowering your value again. The moment you stop proving yourself is the moment you become unforgettable. Drop a comment right now. I am the loss they will never recover from. Own it. Feel it. Let the world know. Because you are not an option, you are not replaceable. And starting today, they will feel every second of losing you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.